Well, a few months ago we bought a new house, and I noticed on the yard, we have a pretty big yard, I noticed there was tons of grapevines growing. And I thought it'd be really cool to try to make my own wine. And I've never done it before, but I read a ton about it, and I saw people doing it with grape juice and sugar and yeast and all this stuff. So I'm going to give it a try. And first of all, I live in Michigan in Zone 6. I don't know what type of grapes they are. They're not these big grapes you buy in the store. They're these little pea-sized red grapes. All I could find is that they're wild viniferi type of grape. One key thing I read is the best time to pick them is after the first frost. And it was 35 degrees last night. And I thought this would be a good time to pick it. Also because I went out and I saw tons of birds in the yard start picking at them. There used to be these big clumps of grapes, and now they're about half. So if I wait any longer, they might be gone. So I'm going to go pick as many as I can. Hopefully I at least get 5 gallons worth. I'm going to grate them over a milk crate in a bucket to try to crush them. I'll do primary fermentation in a clear plastic tote for 7 days with yeast, and I'm going to add a little bit of sugar. Some people add a lot of sugar, some people add none. I'm going to add a little bit of sugar to get a little bit of the alcohol content up. I don't have a measuring gauge for determining alcohol content. I'm just going to add a little bit of sugar, wait 7 days for primary fermentation. Then I'm going to do at least a month, 3 or 4 times in small jugs with the airlock on it for secondary fermentation, and we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I've never done it before, but we'll see how it turns out. And real quickly, here's the grapes that I have in the yard. You can see some of these used to be full of grapes. Now they're all picked clean by the birds. But I have them in patches here and up there and out in the woods, so it might take me an hour or so to go find all these grapes, and they're growing on the ground and in little clumps, so I'll pick as many as I can, but that's the size of them. They're not really big, kind of like a big pea, but I have been tasting them. When they were green, I tasted them. They were super bitter. When they turned purple, I tasted them, and they were a little better, and just this past couple weeks, they got almost sweet. So I'm glad I waited and didn't pick them right when they turned purple because they were still bitter. So they're a lot better. They taste like wine, kind of that wine taste, and they do have seeds in them. They have those pear-shaped seeds in them. So they all have 2 or 3 of these pear-shaped seeds in them. So we'll see how it goes. And I noticed for most of these, I don't even need cutters. I'm just picking them off. They're just falling right off. Funny thing about doing it in your own yard is you'll get some areas where it's sporadic. You might only see 1 or 2. And then you come to a bush like this, and there's a ton all over there and all through here. So keep picking. Okay, put it in the bucket. Very good. Let's go. Here's what I was talking about with the birds. These were full of grapes about a month ago, and now you come back and they're all picked clean. So I didn't want to really wait any longer. Here's another area in our woods where there's some really, really big grapevines. The problem is they go way up into the tree, and the grapes are up there, so you can't really get them. Now here's an area where you can see all the grapevines over there, and we've been finding them in the ground like this, where if you pull up a vine, you'll find some, like that. But it's a lot harder to find these ones that are in the ground and in the bushes like this. It's much easier to get the ones that are on the fence. So if we were going to do this again next year, I think a good idea would be to make a fence out here where all of these other grapevines are, so that they're up off the ground. Like here's a big vine that had grapes on it, and here's another vine with grapes on it. But it's a lot harder when you're bending over and trying to find these grapes down in the ground. So it would be good if we made a fence or something up here for these grapes the vines to grow on. Like for example, here's some grapes way down here, but they're hard to see and hard to find, and you got to pull this whole thing up to find them. So So there's a lot of grapes in here that are hard to find and hard to see. So here's a big clump that I missed. You know, big vines that you can't see the grapes because they're under the grass. Well, we didn't get a ton, maybe 5 gallons worth. Now I'm just going to wash them and then de-stem them and then put them in the other bucket.
Can we plant these yet?
We're not going to plant them.
Can I? Can I help?
Sure. I don't know if this is 100% necessary, but what I've been doing is de-stemming all of these and putting the stems in that bucket. So just going through and pulling all these off. And here's what we have after about an hour. This is all the stems, and this is all the grapes. Again, I was hoping for a little bit more, but hopefully this will make enough for a few bottles. I'm going to add a little bit of water, and then I'll add the yeast and a little bit of sugar.
Nasty. Super nasty. Ew.
Well, my original plan was going to be to scrape it over that milk crate, but I just spent an hour pulling all those grapes off, and I'll just mash them up with a potato masher. I just added the yeast to 100-degree water, and it says let it sit for 20 minutes. So maybe adding some water to it, I'll be able to get some more wine out of it. Okay, I'm all done mashing, and I added a little bit of water. I filled up a container that size, and I dumped it in. So there's a lot of liquid in here now. And now I'm going to add whatever we have left of a 5-pound bag of sugar. It's probably about 3 pounds. I might add sugar at the end to make it sweeter, but this will raise the alcohol content because I don't think these grapes are really that sweet. They're kind of tart, so this will add some sugar to raise the alcohol content for the yeast. I don't think I'm going to use the whole 3 pounds or whatever it was. Maybe just put 2 pounds. 2 pounds in there. I think there's some sugar in the grapes, but so maybe I put 2.5 pounds of sugar in there. And I'll mix that up, and then we'll add the yeast. Here's the yeast. It's been sitting for maybe 10 minutes, I don't know, in nice warm water. So it's good and mixed in. I'm going to cover it with this cheesecloth. I have some pieces, and then I'll put the lid on it over here real lightly. All right, I have the cheesecloth on there, and I'm just going to set this lid on so that when this starts fermenting, it'll start bubbling up and the gases can still burp out of here. And I'm going to stir it every day for a week, and then I will start adding it to these jugs after I clean them out. Probably only need, I thought I was going to need a ton of them. I'll probably only maybe need 3, possibly 4. And we'll cap those with the airlocks. But first things first, this has got to sit for a week. Okay, it has been exactly 7 days since I crushed the grapes and added them to the tote, and I have been stirring them every day since then. And now this is primary fermentation, and we're ready to start secondary fermentation. And I was originally going to use these water jugs, but it turns out that the one-way valve stoppers I have that I got from Amazon, they don't fit. So those don't fit in there, but they do fit in some milk jugs, just barely. So if I force those on, those will fit in there. So I'm hoping I have less than 3 gallons in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scoop it with a cup, scoop it out of there, funnel it through our colander, and then pour it into the milk jugs with the funnel. I'll probably not get all of it. Once I'm going to leave it in here for 3 months, then I'll use a tube to siphon off just the liquid into a different container, maybe those, and then back into the jug, filtering out all the impurities in the yeast and any seeds or grape shells or casings that might have gotten in there. So that's how it's going to go. This is going to be messy. And then I'm going to squeeze out, I guess I can just use my hand, squeeze out all the skins and the grapes, all the liquid I can out of here. And then, with all the leftover grapes, I'll just throw them out, the skin. And then take this, pour it into there. And these milk jugs I cleaned and washed in hot water and soap and everything, so they're nice and clean. And I can see there's a little bit of sediment in there, so it's not super critical that this is absolutely clean. We'll get that on the next filtration. I have to say, I didn't get quite as much as I thought I was going to get. I thought I was going to get 3 gallons, maybe 4, maybe 5. Looks like I'm going to get about 1.5 gallons. It's definitely a messy process too. I'm glad I'm doing this out in the garage. This one is ideal where there's not a lot of air. There's no air touching the wine, just a little bit. This one has more surface area, so air's touching it. I don't know if it's oxidizing or what, but you don't really want all this air touching it, but there's nothing else I can do really. So I'm going to clean these up and then put in the one-way stoppers, fill these up with water, and then leave them for 3 months, and then we'll filter it back into another container, and 3 more months. Should be good. I might do it another 3 months. They say white wine you can do 6 months, red wine you can do anywhere up to a year. So that's it for the end of primary fermentation, and then ready for secondary fermentation, 3 months.
Well, I hope you liked the video you just watched. If you did, feel free to subscribe by clicking the button on this side. You can also check out all the videos I've done, the playlist from things I've built, things I've fixed, home repair, 3D printing. And on this side, you can check out a recommended video similar to the one you just watched. And as always, down in the description, I'll put a link to my blog, which has more pictures and more information about the video you just watched. Thanks.